Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Naidam Namaskritam Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nastapaya Shilvadrishu Nityam Bhakti Sevya Bhagavatim Tamashloke Bhakti Bhakti Naistiki. We are reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, Text 45. Brahma Bhavo Bhavantascha. Just a second. Okay. Karma Mangala Mangala. Oh wait. No. Sorry. It's 6:45. Yeah. Pääovi, voitko avata oven, please? Eihän ollut siinä. Hän just tuli. Hän sanoi täällä. Se on pääovi tässä ovi. My sister came. He cannot open the door. Oh. Sorry, just a second. Some mistake. Yeah, Brahma. Brahma Bhavo Bhavantascha Manavo Vibhudeshvara Vibhutayo Mamaheta Bhutanam Bhutihetava Brahma Bhavo Bhavantascha Manavo Vibhudeshvara Vibhutayo Mamaheta Bhutanam Bhutihetava. You want to chant? Yeah. Thank you. Brahma Bhava Bhavantascha Manavo Vibhudeshvara Vibhutayo Mamaheta Bhutanam Bhutihetava Bhutanam Bhuti Hetava.
Bhutanam Bhuti Hetava. Brahma Bhava Bhavantascha.
Brahma Bhava Bhavantascha.
Manavo Vibhutesvara.
Manavo Vibhuteshvara.
Vibhudaya Mama Hiyeta.
Vibhutaya Maheta.
Bhutanam Bhuti Hetava.
Bhutanam Bhuti Hetava. Brahma, Lord Brahma, Vavaha, Lord Shiva, Bhavantaha, all of you, Prajapatis, Cha, and Manavaha, the Manus, Buddha Ishvara, all the different demigods, such as the sun, the moon, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, who are all in charge of various activities for the welfare of the world. Vibhutaya, expansions of energy. Mama, my. He, indeed. Etaha, all these. Bhutanam, of all living entities. Bhuti, of welfare. Hetavaha, causes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Manus, all the other demigods, and the higher planetary systems, and you Prajapatis, who are increasing the population, are working for the benefit of all living entities. Thus, you expansions of my marginal energy are incarnations of my various qualities. Purport. There are various types of incarnations or expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The expansions of his personal self, or Vishnu Tattva, are called Svamsa expansions, whereas the living entities who are not Vishnu Tattva, but Jiva Tattva, are called Vivinamsa, separated expansions. Although Prajapati Daksha is not on the same level as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, he is compared to them because he engages in the service of the Lord. In the service of the personality of Godhead, it is not that Lord Brahma is considered very great, while an ordinary human being trying to preach the glories of the Lord is considered very low. There are no such distinctions. Regardless of whether materially high or materially low, anyone engaged in the service of the Lord is spiritually very dear to him. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya gives this quotation from the Tantra Nirnaya. Vishesha Vyakti Patratvad Brahmadyastu Vibhutaya Tad Antaryaminas Chaiva Matsyadya Vibhavasrita. From Lord Brahma down, all the living entities engaged in the service of the Lord are extraordinary and are called Vibhuti. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Yad Yad Vibhuti Matsadvam Srimad Rajitam Eva Tad Tad Eva Vagachatvam Mama Tejo Nisha Sampavam. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. A living entity, especially empowered to act on behalf of the Lord, is called Vibhuti, whereas the Vishnu Tattva incarnations of the Lord, such as the Matsya Avatar, Kesha, Drita, Meena, Sarira, Jaya Jaya Gadish Hare, are called Vibhava. Now you can please join me if you know, praying to our Acharyas, Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, Radha and Krishna. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jananjana Chalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Radha Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarvajata Sahaganatam Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Saganalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Vipasindhubhyacha Patitanam Pavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vastuchari Sutarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances to all of you. I'm so happy that you came, Alina. I was feeling so nervous, and I'm so happy to be here in Finland. And thank you for having me. And I humbly seek all your blessings to be able to speak on the Srimad-Bhagavatam for my own purification. And my prayer is that the Srimad-Bhagavatam class, because it's me, but because it's Srimad-Bhagavatam, the Srimad-Bhagavatam is none different than Krishna. So when we listen to Srimad-Bhagavatam, we become purified and become closer to Krishna, closer on our path to pure devotional service. So I hope it lifts you all up and brings you all closer to pure devotional service. And I'm really excited because this is such a cool chapter, the Hamsa Guya prayers. And the Hamsa Guya prayers, so basically I'm not going to give the whole synopsis because I'm sure you guys have been doing that in other classes that you've been listening to, but because I just jumped in here when I was preparing for this class, I was like, okay, what's happening? So Daksha, the Prajapati Daksha, who is actually not in the same birth as the Daksha, who is the father of Sati, who offends Lord Shiva and gets his head cut off and gets his head replaced with the head of a goat. But that is actually the same spirit soul. In his last life, he was that Daksha. And he offended Lord Shiva in his last life, and he got his head cut off in his last life, and he got the head of the goat in his last life. But in this life, he got reborn also as Daksha, but as the Prajapati Daksha. And what is it? Does anybody know what a Prajapati is? Yes.
Progenitor of the humankind.
Yes.
Or even other species.
Yes. So they're in charge of, basically Lord Brahma, right? He creates the universe. And then this Daksha was actually born from Lord Brahma, so he's a son of Lord Brahma. And the duty of the Prajapatis is to populate the universe. Yeah, so you're right. Thank you so much. And also the Manus, that's also their duty to populate the universe, because in this verse, it's saying that Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Manus, and all the other demigods in the higher planetary systems, and you Prajapatis who are increasing the population, are working for the benefit of all living entities. And this is actually Krishna speaking, because Lord Daksha, not Lord Daksha, Daksha, he said the Hamsa Guya prayers, and then the Lord appeared to him, and the Lord responded to his prayers. And so this is the Lord
responding to his prayers. And he's saying that what you're doing is you're working for the benefit of all living beings. And it actually said in the last verse, it explained how he's working for the benefit of all living beings. I won't read the whole purport because you will discuss this yesterday. But it says that Prajapati Daksha is trying to benefit the conditioned souls by begetting them to give them a life with a chance for liberation. Liberation means surrender to Krishna. If one begets children with the purpose of training them to surrender to Krishna, fatherhood is very good. Similarly, when the spiritual master trains the conditioned souls to become Krishna conscious, his position is successful. If one gives the conditioned souls a chance to become Krishna conscious, all his activities are approved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is extremely pleased, as stated here. Following the examples of the previous acharyas, all the members of the Krishna consciousness movement should try to benefit the conditioned souls by inducing them to become Krishna conscious and giving them all facilities to do so. So, just to finish this, such activities constitute real welfare work. By such activities, a preacher or anyone who endeavors to spread Krishna consciousness is recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, basically, by giving people the human form of life, right? Because what's different about the human form of life than other forms of life?
We can have some philosophical discussions about absolute truth, and we can ask what is the meaning of life.
Yeah, exactly. And normally there are some exceptions in scripture, like Lord Chaitanya had a dog that went back home, back to Godhead. But normally, like a dog that does not have association with devotees, can they go back home, back to Godhead? Can they?
Huh?
Can a dog normally go back home, back to Godhead?
No.
Yeah, unfortunately. So when we have the human form of life, we have the opportunity where we can go back home, back to Godhead. So by giving someone the human form of life, you're giving them a huge boon. And I always think about this, and I probably always talk about this in my classes too, but just for a second, gratitude is the seed of which the fertile soil of bhakti can grow. So let's just take a moment to be grateful, because we could be an ant right now. We could literally be an ant, or a worm in a stool, or an amoeba, or a caterpillar, or a butterfly, or a dog, or a fish, or a tree, or a blade of grass, or so many different things. But we actually are a human being, and we have the human form of life, and we have association with devotees. And so because of that, we have the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna, to love Krishna, to become a devotee, even to become a pure devotee by the mercy of pure devotees. So we have been given the greatest gift, and we should make it our very, very life and soul to accept this gift, perfect our lives, and give this gift to others. Because this is the meaning of life. This is the purpose of life. So Krishna is saying in this verse that this work is for the benefit. And also Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they have their duties, and they are devotees of the Lord, and they are given their duties by the Lord, and they're also working for the benefit of living beings. And we're going to get more into this in a second. But it talks about in the purport how there are various types of incarnations or expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there's expansions of his personal self, and these expansions of his personal self, who are actually Krishna, they're called Vishnu Tattva, or Svamsat expansions. Whereas the living entities, who very importantly are not Vishnu Tattva, we should never forget that, but we are a Jiva Tattva. Who is that? This is us. They're talking about us. Just a reminder, a newsflash, we are not God. And we will never be God. Funny story on that, just to make sure everyone is awake. One time there was a person, Ranaswami was giving a lecture to a bunch of college students, and this person stood up and said, "I am God." And he was like, okay. And he tried to have very philosophical conversations with him and explain to him how he is not God. But this person was really adamant. And actually all the other students were really cheering him on. Like, yeah, you're God. This is so great. This person was pretty popular, I think, in the school. And so after the whole lecture was over, this person goes up again to Radha-swami and is saying about how he's God, And all of a sudden this person had to go to the bathroom, really bad, number two. And Radha-swami turns to one of the brahmacharis and says, "Go in the bathroom and lock the door." So the brahmachari goes in the bathroom and locks the door, and this person who thinks they're God is knocking on the bathroom, "Are you almost done in there? Are you almost done in there? Can I please go inside? Can I please go inside?" And the brahmachari is just "Sorry." And then the person's it gets to the point where the person's practically in tears, "Please let me into the bathroom, it's an emergency." And Radha Swami's "We'll let you into the bathroom if you just say one thing. You're not God." And he goes, "Fine, I'm not God, I'm not God, I'm not God, I'm not God." And he's like, "Okay, we'll let you into the bathroom." So, we're not God. We're definitely not God. So the Jiva Tattva are called Vivanamsa, separated expansions. So it's explaining in the purport, Prajapati Daksha, he is not on the same level as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they're also not God, but they are empowered. They're empowered by God. They're demigods. And Lord Shiva, everyone knows that Lord Shiva, if you take milk and you turn it into yogurt, yogurt is not milk. However, it's made from the same substance as milk. So in one sense, it's made of the same stuff. So that's Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, Krishna is milk, and Lord Shiva is yogurt. So Lord Shiva is not Krishna, but he's made of the same stuff as Krishna. But Prajapati Daksha is compared to Brahma and Lord Shiva because he's engaging in the service of the Lord. And then it gets into just a really, really important point that I really want to focus on. In the service of Krishna, it is not that Lord Brahma is considered very great, while ordinary human being trying to preach the glories of the Lord is considered very low. There are no such distinctions. Regardless of whether materially high or materially low, anyone engaged in the service of the Lord is spiritually very dear to him. So anybody from Lord Brahma down to the small living entities, if they're engaged in the service of the Lord, they are extraordinary and are called vibhuti, right? So does anybody know there's a super famous story in our scriptures that illustrates this point? It has to do with a monkey and a squirrel. Some acharyas say it was a spider, some acharyas say it was a squirrel.
Please tell us.
Not ringing a bell? Alrighty. So it's in the Ramayana. And the Ramayana, is the epic of Lord Ram. And so basically when they were building, because Lord Ram, he had to go get Sita because Ravana had stolen Sita. And so he had this huge monkey army with these super buff, they didn't go to the gym, but they were way stronger than anybody who goes to the gym. They were ripped. They were these monkeys were building this bridge with floating rocks from India to Sri Lanka. And by the way, if anybody didn't know this, NASA, everybody know what NASA is? Yeah. NASA actually found this bridge through their what's it called when they satellite. Thank you. They found this bridge underneath the water made of rocks from India to Sri Lanka. Did you guys know this? They found this. There's a whole article about it. And they were like, oh my gosh, there's no way human beings could make this bridge. Like, it is physically impossible with our modern day advanced science to build a bridge from India to Sri Lanka. However, they found it, and it dates back exactly to the time when Lord Ram did this. And in the article, they were like, maybe we should start taking Indian mythology more seriously. And I'm like, hello, it's not mythology. This is the real thing. This really happened, you know? Crazy. So anyways, NASA is finding real things from things that really happened. So anyways, the monkeys were building this bridge, and this monkey, I think it was Hanuman, was like, whoa, and putting the rocks down. And then there was this little spider or squirrel that like had a little like pebble and was like, wee! And like the monkey was like, whoa! And the spider was like, wee! And the monkey goes, move over, you spider, you get out of my way. And Lord Ram chastised Hanuman, was like, what are you doing? This spider, this squirrel, is doing just as important service as you, and is just as dear to me as you, because it's not about the quantity of the service, it's about how are we serving to our full capacity. And this spider is serving to its full capacity, and you are serving to your full capacity, therefore you are equal. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. It's about the quality in Krishna doesn't see what we give to him, Krishna sees what we hold back, right? So a poor person, all they might have, like, again, there's another famous story in the Mahabharata when Duryodhana wanted to offer this huge feast to Krishna. And he put together this huge feast for Krishna. And honestly, Krishna was not very interested in his feast because he knew that Duryodhana was duplicitous. So he did not even go to this feast. But then he went to, whose house did he go to? Yes. He went to Viduра's house. Vidura wasn't even there, but his wife was there. And because they didn't have much, all she had was a banana. But she was in so much ecstasy and so nervous that Krishna was coming to her house that she opened the banana, threw out the banana, and offered the banana peel to Krishna. And Krishna was so ecstatic because she had such pure love that he ate the banana peel. So this is the point. Krishna doesn't see what we give, Krishna sees what he holds back. You know, if we have nothing, but we give Krishna everything that we have, he's completely pleased. If we have everything and give Krishna like our chump change, Krishna's like, hello, I know you have more than that, so I'm not so impressed. So we should in our own life, we should never be discouraged by, if we don't have a lot, being concerned about what we're giving. We should just be honest with ourselves about what is our capacity and serve and give to our full capacity. And we should never compare ourselves to others, because comparison is a thief of joy. And when we start comparing ourselves to others, that's when we become envious and judgmental, and we either think we're better than others, or we think others are better than us, and then we become depressed, and then we put ourselves down, and this is all very material consciousness. What we should do is we should actually appreciate the service of others, glorify the service of others, and be inspired to serve according to our own capacity. And we should never compare different devotees. We should never think, oh, this devotee is such a... One time I lived at the DC temple, these devotees were talking and they used this term, oh, that person's a big devotee. And I looked at them and I remember being like, what does that mean? There is no such thing as big devotee, small devotee. devotee is, well, everybody is a devotee. And if one person is a temple president and another person is cleaning toilets, it doesn't mean that the temple president is more dear to Krishna than the person cleaning toilets. Because what is dear to Krishna is the consciousness. So if the person cleaning toilets could be more dear to Krishna than the temple president if they're cleaning toilets with pure love. Or the temple president could be more dear than the person cleaning toilets if they're doing their service with pure love, you know? We never know. And we never know what a person's journey is. We should never judge someone for their karma or try to, examine their karma or, oh, sorry, Prabhu, you must be suffering because you've done something bad in your past life. Like, that's just mean. We should never look at someone and think, oh, you're suffering because you're bad or you're enjoying because you're good. We don't know what that person's journey is. We don't know what their past lives are. Maybe one person is suffering because they were devotees in their past 10 lives and Krishna's just finishing up their last little bit of karma to bring them back home, back to Godhead. We don't know. Maybe another person's enjoying because, I don't want to speculate, but who knows? But they're not coming closer to Krishna in the process. Like Queen Kunti, she prayed, may calamities come again and again and again and again, because in those calamities, I can call out to you and I feel closer to you and I feel you're with me. So I actually want those calamities because I go deeper in my Krishna consciousness. And at the same time, my temple president from DC, Nanda Vrindavan, one time was saying that she actually likes it in America better than Vrindavan because she feels it's so easy to be Krishna conscious in Vrindavan, but it's so difficult in America. And she was telling this to Burijan Prabhu, and Burijan Prabhu was saying, you should pray that you don't have to be put in a difficult situation to take shelter of Krishna. You should pray that you can be just as Krishna conscious in an easy situation as you can in a difficult situation. So it's actually not about difficult situation or easy situation. Life is all about duality, success, failure, honor, dishonor, health, disease, pleasure, pain, all these different things. It's about, are we taking shelter of Krishna? And are we using what we have in Krishna's service? Are we giving our full heart? I was at the airport yesterday and somebody had a sticker on their backpack that says, wherever you go, go with your full heart. And I was thinking, oh, that's such a nice, material slogan. But at the same time, it's very applicable in Krishna consciousness. Like, whatever service we do that service with our full heart. Whatever temple we serve at, serve that temple with our full heart. Whatever we do, we should do it with our full heart, our mind, our body, and soul. And that's the perfection. And sometimes devotees, they kind of get into again, just going, trying to stay focused on the purport about how there aren't these no materially high or materially low when you're engaged in the service of the Lord. Devotees, we shouldn't get caught up in our bodies or our genders or our race or our nationality or even our, bank balance. Sometimes devotees get into it's so funny. Radha Swami talks about in the early days of Chaupadi, all the brahmacharis thought that they were the good ones and they were performing all these austerities and they were dear to Krishna and the householders were just in Maya. And all the householders thought that they were working so hard, doing jobs, having families, giving money to the temple, but the brahmacharis were just lazy and living off of the temple. And it was this divide. And Radha-Swami had to work to bring everyone together and to have them appreciate each other and now everybody, now the brahmacharis are thinking, the grahastas are better than me. The they're working jobs, they're giving money to the temple, they're raising families. They're the real devotees. And the grahastas, they're thinking, the brahmacharis, they've surrendered everything, they've sacrificed everything, they're performing so many austerities, they're better than me. That's how we should be thinking. You know, sometimes also devotees get into this thing of like, some devotees think, well, if you're poor, that means you really got Krishna's mercy. Because Krishna says in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada quotes this verse, isn't it? That if Krishna really loves someone, he gives them everything. But if he really loves someone, he takes everything away, isn't it? And then Prabhupada, he quotes this when he said that happened to him when he had his pharmaceutical business, and then all just like got ruined, and then everything happened, and then, you know, his wife sold his Srimad-Bhagavatam sets to like buy tea and tea cookies, and then he left his family, and he just, everything just materially speaking crumbled. So sometimes devotees think, yeah, if you're poor, that really means you've got Krishna's mercy. But then sometimes other devotees think, actually, Krishna says that if you can't handle wealth, he won't give it to you. But if you can handle wealth and you can engage the wealth in Krishna's service, he'll give you the wealth. So actually, if you have wealth, that means that you're a better devotee. Going to break it to you all. Neither one of these philosophies is correct, because just like we have to take Srila Prabhupada's statements in context, right? Like if we just take one of Prabhupada's statements from a room conversation, sometimes he would be talking to one person and he would tell them, take sannyas. And the next person would come in and he would tell them, get married. So if we say Prabhupada said, take sannyas, everyone has to take sannyas, that's taking Prabhupada's statement out of context. We have to look at why was Prabhupada saying something, who was Prabhupada saying it to, what was the context in which Prabhupada was saying. Sometimes similarly in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, there's even different verses that could seem somewhat contradictory. We have to see when in the Srimad-Bhagavatam was this verse taking place, and what context was it taking place, like that. And then we have to realize that, yeah, sometimes Krishna might give you all types of money. Sometimes Krishna might take away all types of money. But what we shouldn't do is we should never look at devotees who have money, who don't have money, and think one is better than the other. We should never look at devotees who are in a male body or a female body and think one is better than the other. We should never look at devotees who are in a beautiful body or a materially, we think, unattractive body, which what is that? It's all relative, and think one is better than the other. We should never think of one person is a PhD and another person is a college dropout and think one is better than the other. We should never think that a pujari versus a book distributor is better, or someone who is a preacher or someone who's making garlands is better. It's all equal in devotional service, because we are not these bodies, and we are the soul. And whatever service we do, Prabhupada said that any service we do in the Hare Krishna movement is a preaching service, because it is a preaching mission. So we might glorify preaching, but someone who is just stringing garlands all day, they're preaching, because when the people come and see the deities wearing beautiful garlands, they're attracted. They're contributing to the preaching mission. I was listening to a lecture one time, and Radha Swami speaking to people stringing garlands, and he said, you can reach the perfection of life just by stringing one flower with love. And they have you guys heard of the flower festival that they have at Champakalata? They have this, I know you have, but have you guys heard of the flower festival? They have this flower festival at Champakalata where they literally, I was there in January in India, in Mumbai. You literally pick flowers and make them into petals, and then they take like tons and tons and tons of flowers, and then they have a festival that night with kirtan, and they abhishek, they bathe the deities with flowers, with kirtan for like hours, and then they take the flowers after they've been abhisheked, and then they like put them in the air. So I have videos I can show you guys. It's like flowers like going like this, and then they take all the flowers and then they go from they have like balcony seats in the temple room, and then they throw the flowers down on all the devotees in the temple room, and then all the devotees get big flowers, and then all the devotees pick the flowers up from the floor and start throwing them at each other, and then like you're like dancing and like throwing flowers at each other. It's like really ecstatic. But Radha Swami, he said that in the class, he said, it's not that we should, when all those flowers come together, you can't tell which flower you plucked. It's not like you're like, oh, that's the one that I plucked. You know, it's like they all just merge. So it's like collective offering. And the people plucking flowers, there's some billionaires plucking flowers, there's some simple housewives plucking flowers. There's like so many different types of people plucking flowers. But what's beautiful about it is that they all come together to offer their hearts. And no one flower petal is better than the other flower petal. So that's the essence of this verse. And I think it's time for me to stop. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. And now I think I'm supposed to open it to if anybody has any questions, comments, complaints, corrections, chastisements, glorifications, just kidding, or realizations. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Champakalata. Can you tell us the tips on increasing the taste of the chanting of the holy name?
Yeah, sure. I don't know how that's connected to this verse, but well, I would highly recommend getting a beautiful book by Satchidananda Swami called The Living Name. Has anybody read The Living Name? Oh my gosh. It's the best book ever. So this book, it's all about japa actually. And when we can increase our taste for chanting holy names. Of course, there's japa and there's kirtan, and they're both very, very, very important. But I'd say two things. Number one, we don't have the power to get taste. It's not like a material thing where I'm just going to go to the gym and train really hard and build my muscles and get an Olympic medal and all this. Receiving taste for the holy names comes through mercy. Of course, we should still train. We should still practice our japa very, very intensely, chant kirtan very, very intensely, with full attention, full absorption. But we receive mercy by pleasing the devotees. We please the devotees by serving the devotees. So by becoming the humble servant of the servant of the servant, and with our full life, heart, life, and soul, trying to serve the devotees and please the devotees. And not just, again, the big devotees, but all of the devotees, as in each other. By just trying to serve everyone, we please Krishna and receive his mercy. And then also, by working with books such as The Living Name, which is a book that has many different exercises for going deeper in your japa, we can become more absorbed and our quality can become better. The quality of our japa can become better. And also by increasing the quantity of our japa, the quality also increases. Sometimes people say, better to chant 2 rounds with a lot of absorption than to try to push yourself. And there can be some truth to that also, because people have to see where they're at and they have to be realistic and they have to, take one step at a time in their Krishna consciousness. But also, I've always experienced in my life that every time I've increased the quantity of my rounds, the quality has increased and that taste has come. Being in the association of devotees who have taste and being in the association of devotees who are enthusiastic is the #1 way which we can increase our enthusiasm and taste. When we're around the devotees who have that taste, we become inspired, and just by metamorphosis in their association, that taste comes to us. But we have to sincerely desire the taste, and we have to become beggars for the taste. I forget who it was, I think it was Champakalata said, if we can't cry for Krishna, we should cry to cry for Krishna. And if we can't cry to cry for Krishna, we should cry to cry to cry for Krishna. And if we can't cry to cry to cry for Krishna, we should cry to cry to cry to cry for Krishna. Chapa is like that. It's like we're coming to Krishna. Whereas we're not just mechanically chanting, we're not robots. It's like, Krishna, I am begging, I am begging, I am begging, please give me your mercy. We have to ask him for taste. Not just, oh, if I chant, Krishna will give me taste. No, ask him. Krishna is a person. He's a person. We have to tell him. We have to tell him, Krishna, I want to know you. I want to love you. I want taste for chanting your holy names. Please be merciful to me. Did anybody add anything to this answer? Yeah.
But if Krishna knows everything, he knows our heart and all our thoughts and everything.
So you don't have to ask him because
Yeah, why?
I literally almost said, but some people say if Krishna knows everything, he knows my heart, and I don't have to say, no, I'm sorry, you can't get away with that. He knows our heart, but sometimes we don't even know our heart. And sometimes our heart doesn't feel that way. And it's not until we say it out loud that becomes our heart, that becomes our intention. You know, honestly, it's a little like, and I'm not calling you out on this, I'm calling myself out. It can be, huh?
You can call me.
It'd be a little like, sometimes it's a little puffed up, like, oh yeah, like Krishna knows I love him. You know, like the process is, Krishna, I don't love you. I want to love you. Please give me love for you. Krishna knows our hearts, but still, like, that's kind of like, and I know you're a brahmachari, but it's kind of like if you're in a relationship with someone, and it could be a friendship, you know, it doesn't have to be like a romantic relationship. It could be a friendship, or your mother or your sister. I used to always do this with my mother. I thought she could read my mind. She needed to know everything that I was thinking. And I had this mommy book. It was like, Mom, you don't know that's written in the mommy book. Like, and you don't know what I'm thinking right now. She'd be like, honey, I can't read your mind. So sometimes in relationships, we think like, oh, the other person knows me. The other person understands me. I don't have to tell them. Or sometimes, like, if you read relationship books, they'll say like they'll ask the husband, do you appreciate your wife? And he's like, yeah, of course. Does your wife know that? Yeah, of course. Do you ever tell her? No, of course not. And so the wife was like, does not think that her husband appreciates her. But the husband is thinking, she should know, you know. So sometimes we're like that with Krishna. Krishna should know. Krishna knows my heart. Krishna knows that, like, you know, I want taste for chanting his holy names. But we still need to tell him. And the telling him is for our own benefit, because it helps us. Like, I used to do this thing in the Christian tradition, they have this type of prayer. I forget the name of it, but it's a type of prayer where you force yourself to talk to God for like hours. And it's like stream of consciousness. And you just keep like forcing yourself to do that. And you tell God everything. Because sometimes we keep it all bottled up and we think, oh, it's all inside, but we can't actually process it until we talk it out. So I used to do that with Tulsi Devi because I took care of Tulsi Devi. And I would go to Tulsi Devi for 2 hours a day, and I would force myself to talk to her for 2 hours a day. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me in my entire life, because all that stuff that was inside came out and helped me process something. And I became incredibly close to Tulsi Devi, and I felt her mercy. And if I would have just gone to Tulsi Devi and mechanically been like, of course, it's also good to chant, you know, Namo Nama Tulasi Krishna Prayasi, like it's also very good. But if I would have just like mechanically done that, you know, I don't think I would have gone as deep as like praying. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Huh? Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was so purifying.
Anybody else?
I'm not little bright. I'm quite a lot bright.
Me too. Me too. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You've been mentioning that we should strive to please Krishna with our deeds, whatever big or small, and not compare each other, to compare ourselves with others. And what will be the meter that devoted to his service whole day, and how he knows that is devotees happy, how he knows is it Krishna, Gauritai happy, how he knows that spiritual master is happy with his services.
That's such a beautiful question. There was one time a Christian who was feeling super mental about this and was like, I don't know if I'm pleasing Jesus, and he went to Mother Teresa and he asked the exact same question that you just asked. And Mother Teresa said, spend 2 hours a day loving God in prayer, and we do the same thing. We spend 2 hours a day in japa. And she said, for the rest of the day, don't do anything that you know is wrong, and you'll be all right. And I think that really applies in Christian consciousness, that if we really do our best in our sadhana, we give our full heart in our sadhana, and then as we go about our service in the day, Paramatma is in our heart. And if we are listening and we have good sadhana, Paramatma is guiding us. And Paramatma, we have checks and balances for Paramatma through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So we should always check our feelings of Paramatma with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra to make sure that we're in line. But for the small things of whether I should not kill that spider, we don't need to run to our Guru and ask our Guru that, Paramatma is telling us, don't kill the spider, take the spider outside, So I think that we need to listen to that voice and not do anything that we know is wrong. And if at the end of the day we can honestly say to ourselves, I gave my full heart in my sadhana, I didn't do anything that was wrong, and I really sincerely tried my best to serve the devotees and to serve my spiritual master and Krishna, then we can know that Krishna is pleased. We don't have to be mental. But if we have done something that we know is wrong or it's not as good as we could have done, then that's when we know we have to do better next time. And in Krishna consciousness, there's the comfort zone, there's the push zone, and then there's the stretch zone. We don't want to be in the comfort zone, kick back, relax, I'll just take it easy in Krishna consciousness. And then we don't want to be in the stretch zone where it's I'm trying really hard to sleep on the floor, but I can't sleep at all. And I'm in so much pain and I can't do this. All glorious people who can sleep on the floor, I really cannot. And then there's the stretch zone of this is out of my comfort zone and this is hard. And I'm pushing myself, yet it's in a way that I can handle. I'm not going to break because of it. We should always try to be in that stretch zone, and we should always be trying to, how can I a little bit increase the quality and quantity of my service? How can I chant an extra round or sing an extra bhajan or worship the deities a little bit more nicely? Or even something simple, how can I get someone a gift or say something nice to someone or serve someone prasadam or clean the bathroom when no one asked me to, or make some vases for the flowers or buy someone flowers or, it's like, how can we do something a little bit extra? When we do that, Krishna's definitely pleased. We should always be seeing, Krishna consciousness should never become dry or stale. It should always be like, how can I do a little bit more? How can I say yes? Like, that's the last thing I'll say, but like my temple president in DC, she used to always laugh at me because she would come to me and she would say like, Champak, I know you've never done this before, but would you like to decorate all 3 altars for Ram Navami? Or Champak, you have Jai Shishiguri Tai Ki. Or Champak, I know you have full services of book distribution, but a week from now, do you think you could write a full-length drama and get the devotees together and perform a full-length drama? And I would have the same reaction every time she'd ask me that. My whole body would tense up, and I would be like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah, sure, I can do that. But it was like, and it would cause anxiety. It would first cause a lot of anxiety, then it would cause a lot of surrender, then it would cause more anxiety, and then it would cause a lot of absorption and preparation, and then on the day of Janmashtami or Ram Navami or whatever, at the end of the day, I could honestly say when I went to bed at night, my heart was completely satisfied. And I felt completely like I have given Krishna everything. And I remember there were specifically some Janmashtmis where like, I didn't take on extra, I didn't really push myself. And at the end of Janmashtami, I was a little bit like, I could have done better. I enjoyed the arti, but like, I didn't really like give something. And then the other times when I was like, really took something on that was like quite frightening. But by the end of it, it was like, wow, like, this is amazing. That's Krishna consciousness.
Thank you so much.
I'm at your guys' mercy, so I don't know if we're supposed to stop here or we're supposed to. Does anybody have anything else? My body is going like this. Just kidding.
Okay, there is super soul speaking as if we can hear, but how can we know that? Is it our mind or is it super soul or who is talking there?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Thank you for saying that. Actually, someone asked this exact question to someone. I forget who it was. Maybe it was Devanamrita Swami. It was some Swami. They were saying that like we have to go through a checks and balances. We have to ask ourselves. Oh, it was in a hermeneutics class by Prabhupada Priya at Krishna House. We have to ask ourselves, is my sadhana good? Am I following all the 4 regulative principles and all the rules and regulations? Am I having any kind of ulterior motive in the situation? Because if we have an ulterior motive, then our mind gets involved. But if our only motivation is serving Krishna, then that's pure. So if our sadhana is good, we're following all the rules and regulations, and we have no ulterior motive, and we're really sincerely asking the Paramatma to guide us, and it's probably the Paramatma. And we can feel in our heart when we listen to the Paramatma, the more we listen to the Paramatma, the more the Paramatma's voice becomes louder. And when we don't listen to the Paramatma's voice becomes quieter, and our mind's voice becomes louder. Like when we don't listen to the Paramatma, then the Paramatma's like, okay, you're not going to listen to me? Like, I'll be quiet. You can listen to your mind. But if we're regularly saying, I choose to listen to the Paramatma, and we feel like, it's like, if you're like, say you're walking, And it's like so subtle. Krishna consciousness is so subtle, and you feel this thing in your heart like, go help that devotee. Go help that devotee. And you have in that moment, this is Paramama, go help that devotee. Or it's like, oh, don't help that devotee. That's not listening to Paramama. The more we listen to Paramama, the louder Paramama's voice gets, and the more Paramama can guide us. But we should still always, for the small things, it's not like we run to our guru every 2 seconds, like, oh my gosh, should I sweep the floor or should I dust the ceiling? What is Paramama asking me to do? But for the big things, we should double check. This is how I'm feeling. Is this my mind or is this Paramama? And what is actually in mind? Like that's why we have to always have Shiksha gurus and always speak with Shiksha gurus and always read Prabhupada's books. Like it's so important to read Prabhupada's books because I can't tell you, everyone's had this experience. You have the experience of like you're a little in your mind about something and you just take shelter with Prabhupada's books and it's like Prabhupada speaking directly to you and telling you all of the answers. Like, we have to regularly, systematically read Prabhupada's books. And when we read Prabhupada's books, something mystical happens. We're associating with Prabhupada and Prabhupada's books, they literally like refine our intelligence and connect the Paramama and move us from our mind to our heart. And we can also, normally when Paramama is speaking, we feel quite peaceful. And normally when our mind is speaking, we feel anxiety. So if we're feeling a lot of anxiety about something, it's either because it's our mind or Paramama is telling us something that we don't want to do. And we feel like our mind starts justifying. Would you add anything, Prabhu? From your own realization?
Yeah, it was a good answer. I must get more experience. Sometimes I'm doing some service. I'm pushing myself forward and then I'm thinking that is that really Paramatma who is saying that do this, or is it just some my anartha who is like it's just like working that way. It's I don't know.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think I can understand you because it also depends on what our conditioning is. Like some people, they have a tendency to like be a little lazy and they need to be pushed to do more. And other people have the tendency to be workaholics and they need to do less. And so like even in our service, sometimes when we're really pushing ourselves, we have to ask ourselves like, why? Why am I pushing myself? Am I pushing myself because of my sincerity and wanting to get closer to Krishna? Or am I pushing myself because I'm a perfectionist and I need to prove myself to others and I think that I'm only worthy and Krishna will only accept me if I do this. And sometimes it can also be a mix of both. Like sometimes actually what we need to do is we need to stop running a marathon and just sit down and read Prabhupada's books. Like I know for me, like that's kind of my tendency is I'm a very like active person. And I tend to like think that I need to, every single person that I see, I need to become their best friend in service to Krishna. And I need to like help them every single person I see become a pure devotee of Krishna. I think that's all on me. It's all very nice and sincere, but it's also like my material conditioning, And like actually maybe what I need to do at that time is just go read Bhagavad Gita. And my spiritual master, that's why we have to have a relationship with Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru, because they can see what is our conditioning. Like I might think that, oh, what I really need to do is I really need to become best friends with every single person and make every single person who comes into the Bhakti Center. And what you should know about the Bhakti Center is like we had hundreds of people coming through the door every day. So like that's putting that pressure on myself of like, I need to make every single one of these 100 people a devotee of Krishna. My spiritual, so I might think like, oh, that's going to please my spiritual master. And then I talk to my spiritual master, and my spiritual master tells me to give a Bhagavad Gita class, you have to read the Bhagavad Gita. And he tells me, be balanced. I remember when I moved into Bhakti Center, I was thinking, he's going to like ask me about all the service that I'm doing and all that. He came, I saw him the first time. You know what he said to me? He said, are you eating properly? And I was like, whoa, like, he's not asking me Champakalata, like, oh, the service you're doing. He's like, are you balanced? Are you happy? Are you able to get proper food? Like, so we have to, that's why we have to speak to the spiritual master. And sometimes the best thing we can do for Krishna is actually just sleep. I think you need to hear that one. Is that okay?
Thank you for the answer.
You're welcome.
It was so good. You talk about myself, but no. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Hi, everyone online.
Srimad-Bhagavatam ki.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki.
Champakalata Sakhi, Mataji.